Hi, I'm Meredith Levine, and I'm going to tell you a story that begins in the summer of 2007. I woke up one morning and the back of my head was spinning. Then the rest of the world started to spin. That's called vertigo. It was accompanied by tinnitus or buzzing in the ears, blurred vision, severe headaches, and just about everything else. There was a sense of my world being in constant and violent motion even when I was still, and the nausea just did not stop. I also lost my balance, which made walking very difficult. Getting into a moving vehicle was impossible. This unrelenting set of symptoms did not shift for almost 2 years. Worst of all, I think, was the impact on my ability to communicate. I could not write. I could not read. Looking at a computer or a TV screen would heighten the symptoms beyond that which I could endure. Even listening to the radio or trying to talk on the phone increased the already considerable pain in my ears. Loved ones did read to me, but most of the time I couldn't take in what they were saying because I was too dizzy. I could only communicate in person with one-on-one conversations. Beyond that, it would overload my damaged brain. Communicating meant mostly listening because I was usually too sick to speak. And at most I could listen for a half hour or 45 minutes a day. That was on a good day. On a bad day, my ability to speak or listen was reduced to 0. During this 2-year period, I became ignorant of much of what was going on in the world. I'd regressed to an oral culture of one while existing in a hyper-connected digital world, a world dominated by innovations in information and communication technology. Technology, though, was my enemy. It had reduced my ability to communicate. If something was plugged in or ran on batteries, chances were it made me really dizzy. The purpose of this talk is to map my story of communication disability onto the UN Convention of Rights for Persons with Disabilities. In doing this, here's what I've discovered, that the promise of the RPD diverges from my story in 3 essential ways. First, the techno-optimism of the document is very different from the techno-resistance of my experiences. There are several references in the document to the importance of communication technology as a means of helping people communicate and have access to information. But my ability to express myself didn't depend on technology. Instead, it depended on a close connection to loved ones. When words were too much for me to utter, loved ones could intuit my needs by body language or facial expressions and respond accordingly. I cannot conceive of any kind of technology that could similarly help me to communicate. A second problem with the convention is its focus on access, and more importantly, the linking of access to the issue of external barriers. In order to improve access to communication and information, so the thinking goes, external barriers must be removed. This construction is at the heart of the conception of disability in the convention. The UN states, for example, and I quote, "By dismantling attitudinal and environmental barriers as opposed to treating persons with disabilities as problems to be fixed, those persons can participate as active members of society." This conception of disability fits squarely with that espoused by social theorists. Tom Shakespeare sums up their position this way: disabled by society, not by our bodies. Our bodies have a condition or an impairment. They do not have a disability. According to Shakespeare, though, people are disabled by society and by their bodies.